Hello, hello, hello. Heal with Gold. How are you? I am so psyched to be here. Guys, we planned this interview already a few months ago. I am just so excited to bring Laura. So excited. So I can't wait for you to join. Hello, Marina. I'm so happy you are here. This girl, I'm telling you, I have this tendency. I actually need to do a little bit of an internal introspection and try to figure out why I have this tendency to kind of adopt everybody in my heart, you know. Every time I go, oh, she's like a daughter to me. Anahar, Linda. Oh, this Anahar who just joined us is my sister from another mother. Maybe she sees me, I don't know what she sees me, but I miss you so much. She moved to California. She used to be my neighbor, Ana Linda. So happy you're here. Okay, guys, I'm bringing Laura Messner. She's going to introduce herself. I'm just going to give you a little bit of an intro. Laura went from being extremely depressed, suicidal, to being driven to build such a beautiful life, such amazing values. I am so inspired by her. It doesn't hurt that she's so beautiful, so talented. She's musical. She's athletic. She's, when somebody, you say, wow, inspiring. I want to move like her. I want to go running when I see her about to jog. I want to move my body. When she sings, I don't sing. I control myself. I want to sing with her, but I behave. So without further ado, here is Laura. If I find here you are. Hello, beautiful.
Oh my goodness, Miri, thank you so much for just that. One, you're going to be singing with me one of these days. So
let me just tell you something. I'm just going to tell you how bad I sing, that my babies asked me to not sing them lullabies. Okay? Like, mommy, it's okay. I'm going to sleep. Okay? I'm bad. So it's okay. I'm good at other things.
So, what you're saying is you're going to be the backup dancer.
Listen, that I can. I don't mind making a fool of myself. That I'm fine.
Oh, girl.
But if I sing, then it's bad for you guys. You know, I have to have some pity and some. Okay. Anyway, Marina, can you do me a favor and can you tag Paul? He asked me to tag him when we go live. He will try to join us if he has power, because they're having like a hurricane there. So between Naomi, Marina, everybody who's friends with him, just tag him. Guys, Laura Messner is here. Laura?
And thank you. And honestly, Mary, you are just such a bright light yourself. I love what you do with the community, and you bring people together for the bigger purpose of just showcasing hope, and that whatever it is that you're going through, that you can overcome it, that it is possible, that you can. And what you're doing is speaking to so many. So I just want to say thank you. And I feel honored that you even asked me to come on here, because you are such an inspiration to me as well. So thank you.
My pleasure. I'm so happy that you're all here. Yes, Naomi tagged him, so we're all good. And Salud is here, so everybody's saying hello. I may not put all the comments while Laura is talking, just because I don't want to break her train of thought. But at the end, we will. Anybody who has questions, write question or wait till the end. Laura will answer, and she'll sing a little bit. So stay till the very end. Laura, share with our group a little bit the backstory before you were, we know where you are today, this inspiring person that you are. But I want people to understand the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Go back into your childhood and then share with everybody whatever you feel that's coming from your heart to inspire us all.
For sure. I mean, and the thing is that everybody has their own story and showcases it differently, especially with struggles. So like when I was younger, nothing was bad. Like I had, nice family, like home, neighborhood, school, seemed like a picture perfect type of thing. But then around 8 years old, my parents divorced, in which I was super excited because I got to jump up on the counter at my mom's place and grab a cereal bowl, which I never got to do with my dad. So like things that kids think about when the process goes through. So I was excited. But the problem with that was that later on, as time kept going on, what I noticed was how little my dad paid attention to us kids, me and my brother. And my brother, for those of you who don't know, has autism, and he's just an amazing soul. And I'll get into that later. But so as far as he was never coming home anymore, right? Because we weren't there. So what I realized was he wasn't as around enough. He wasn't as supportive as I thought he was. And so being a daughter, I wanted him to be proud of me, just like we all do. We want attention. We want to feel validated and loved and accepted. And so I kept trying everything that I could to try to get him to show me in some way, shape, or form that he was proud of me. And so I got straight A's in school because he's a college professor. And then so I then thought, well, if he's focusing on my A minus, maybe I should focus on sports. So I got involved in sports. I got MVP of mostly all the sports that I played, but he never came to my games. He maybe showed up one or two of the games and felt like he didn't even want to be there. So like, why don't I find something that I'm passionate about too? And maybe he'll see that. So I got involved in theater and I got lead roles in school plays and musicals, and I loved it. But again, it was one of those things where he showed up and it felt more like a duty to do and not really something that he wanted to see and was excited about. And so over time I was like, what can I try next? So then I thought maybe it's my image. Maybe it's how I look. And so I started, this is all subconscious, mind you. I'm not aware that I'm doing this as a kid. And so I started restricting and I started not eating at all until I had to throughout the day. But then I played sports too. So I got down to a little below 70 pounds at the age of 13. And very, very, very unhealthy. And of course, I was in complete denial because that later on transformed into a sense of control for me and something that I didn't have control over, which was how my dad responded to me. And that did not support me at all. So I came through, I actually went, and my mom actually married a ex-military leader, which was honestly one of the biggest blessings to me. It didn't appear like that at the time, but he was that one person that actually forced me to sit down and wouldn't put up with my bull crap. They wouldn't. I mean, I'd have to sit there, and even though my mom is a blessing and she just would be like, whatever you need, honey, and that was what I wanted, but I was the head of the household, and that wasn't okay. Mm-hmm. So I was able to come out of that, but then years later down the road, I then became severely depressed because what happened was I entered my first relationship, and then when that didn't work, the whole dad reminder thing came crashing down and felt like nobody could love me, that I was unlovable. So I just didn't even want to live anymore. I've tried so hard to please everybody that came around my path, and when it felt like nobody cared, what's the point anymore? And that was just the devil doing its work, and got to a point where I almost took my own life. And I then the next morning went to the hospital. I've been hospitalized 3 times. So it's funny how like people can look at others' lives and it may look on the outside. Like for instance, I've worked hard to get to where I am today. Lots and lots of therapy and groups and seminars and workshops and constantly working on myself to get to where I am. So people many times will look at my life now and be like, I wish I had that lifestyle. I wish I had, the things that she had, or I wish I was happy like she is with the energy that she has. Please, like I was in the other room and I can tell you, she would tell you straight up how I used to be, and I was the complete opposite of that. Actually, I had 0 to no hope that I would even make it to the age that I am today. None. So after that whole crash with severe depression, years, like I would cry all day long. And when I say all day, I'm not even exaggerating. I don't know if it was the meds that they were trying me on, but there was a good time where I spent a week straight, morning to when I woke up to when I went to bed, crying, that I went to the ER because my mom didn't know what to do with me. She's like, I don't know what's wrong with her, but something's wrong. Can we fix this? So when I say that everybody has a struggle. And I like to relate it with a seed, right? Because when you plant a seed in the ground, that's just like every single one of us. We have that opportunity to grow. But many times we can view the dirt as suffocation, when really we should be viewing that dirt as fertilizer, as nutrition to grow from. So all this stuff that was happening to me, the depression that I didn't really identify where it was coming from, the eating disorder, the bad toxic relationships that I've been in, like all this dirt that keeps piling. I'm sure you have dirt in your life too, Mary, and everybody watching, there's some dirt that you've had in your life that got put on top of the seed that you are. And it was your decision at that time when all that dirt kept piling up, or whether or not you were going to break through the dirt and grow. Because if not, you're gonna suffocate, and you're always gonna be in the dark, and you're never gonna see what your potential is. Because imagine a flower growing from a seed, and then once it breaks through the dirt, you're able to see the world, the sun, the sky, the trees, the grass. You would have never seen that if you just said, you know what, there's nothing left for me here. This is very dark. I don't like it here. I might as well stay here, because what if it's worse up there? Well, that's part of life. Risking is part of life. If I were to have just sat back and said, you know what? I did at that point, right? But God thought differently, because God saved me from that moment where I was going to take my own life and said, you got more things to do in this world. You got way more things to do. This is not your time. You got a lot of love to give. So at that point, I was like, you know what? I hear you, but I'm stubborn. So for anybody that really knows me, I'm very stubborn. And so it's always that task to still push through the stubbornness and be honest with myself. Really, guys, like if I'm speaking to some of you who understand just being honest and the power of being honest with yourself, that's the biggest piece of growth. Because when you're not honest with yourself, you can't grow. You have no opportunity to, because you don't see an issue. You just stay in that comfort zone because it's comfortable. It makes sense, right? So as I was pushing through my own dirt during that time of my life and trying to find some sense of purpose, trying to find a direction to go in. And so I got into modeling. Because I wanted to be a singer. I wanted to be the next Britney Spears, which sounds great, right? Sounds great in theory. I did do very well in it. However, once you reach that point where you kind of see what it's like to have that bit of fame in that field, to me, it's just my heart wasn't in it anymore. I felt like more people were viewing me for the outside of like the physical aspect, and then my talents, and nothing about in here. And to me, it's just not worth it, because I know I'm going to get older. I'll just be in denial of that at that point. And I wanted people to know who I am, not just what they can get from me. So I did that for about 3 years. And then I went into obstacle course racing, which kind of sounds fun, right? Because it's, for those of you who don't know what obstacle course racing is either, because I forget, people don't always know what it is. So if you know boot camp, like the Army and the military, and they go through the boot camp. So they go in up ladders, down ladders, underneath things, over fire, whatever it is they do. That's what I do, but not for the military.
I do that when I'm sleeping, like in my dreams.
Really?
I do. Well, yes, in my dreams, I'm still like 23 in fit, and I do obstacle courses. But then I wake up and then I go back to life,
Oh, you still can. And you know what? Paul, if he's on, or if he watches this later, I'll tell you, Paul is going to help me to build an obstacle course at his farm. And so you better get ready, Missy, because you are going to do an obstacle course race.
Challenge accepted.
All right. I love it. So I did that for 8 years too, which is crazy.
8 years. Wow.
8 years, 2012. Yeah. So that's when I started. But even though it was a big risk, because I was going from the modeling world, which there I was making a lot of money, which was, it's again, great, but I knew it was toxic for me. So I needed to remove myself from that because it wasn't helping me. And which going from that to then being in a field where nobody knows me, and I have to rebuild myself, rebrand myself, in which I was able to do, praise the Lord that I was able to do that. So then I was able to do that. I say able to do so many times, able to do that for 8 years. And after 8 years, I've been burning out since then. So I needed something different. But this is where the stages come into life, in which you have to start making decisions, what's best for you, and not just staying where you are because it's comfortable. I had to make that decision when I was comfortable financially in the modeling world, but I knew in my heart that it wasn't where I needed to be. And so I had to make that choice of jumping ship, and it was scary. But everything that we do in life that's worth it is scary, and we have to face that fear. So then from there, I after obviously recently, I was able to get into essential services, stuff to build for my brother. And again, I'll dive into him in a minute, because I'm going to be his caretaker down the road. And I want to make sure that he is financially stable and at a place where he, if anything were to happen to me, that he would still be okay, because it's stuff that's willable and sellable that I can give to him. And that meant a lot to me. And then I got into life coaching and photography. So more of like my artistic side and just my ability to be able to continue helping people, because really that's what we need. If I could send you a list of people that had helped me, I wouldn't be able to, because it goes on and on and on. And there are people that touch your heart so drastically that if I could do that just even for one person, knowing what it did for me, that makes all the difference.
I have to tell you something. I've been interviewing thrivers, people that overcame adversity, for almost a little over 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them say the same thing. If I can help one person, everything that I went through was worth it. We always want to multiply, right? We want to go from one person and then one person and then one person. And then you say, if I have to go through adversity, but I learned so much that I can start helping other people, then it makes sense why I had to go through the pain that I went through.
Right. With those moments when you ask yourself, when you're going through that struggle and you say, why me? I remember just praying to God, like, why me, God? Can't I just have a normal life? Why don't I just have a day where I don't feel like food is taking hold of me, or that I don't cry one day, or I can actually go and enjoy time with friends? I didn't have that because I didn't allow myself to have that, because I was so consumed in my eating habits or my addiction to that. And it just, the fear of not being perfect consumed me completely. And that will paralyze you.
Tell me something. Did you work on your relationship with your dad? Where is that at? Like, now that you were feeling good, right? You're feeling better, that you are understanding, you introspected, and you understood, you got what was missing. Mm-hmm. Were you able to just understand and move on? Did you go through some healing process with him? Would you share with us that part?
And honestly, I've never been asked that. And I really appreciate you taking the time to ask that, because it is something that should be touched upon, because when we grow and we learn so much about ourselves through that growth process, we forget of what the major trigger was to begin with, and how did that come about. So for my dad, I mean, I reached out a lot, because I can understand, like, I was in some pretty risky modeling stuff, and I'll be, very open with you about that. And with that, I can see where a dad would not like that and would be very uncomfortable with it. But that was, again, years and years and years ago. I've grown into nowhere close to that at this point in my life. So I've constantly reached out. I've even written him Christmas cards, holiday cards, just so I can stay in touch, or even just tell him, hey, looking at this house, looking at this property. And even if I got nothing back, because what I found is the most important thing is knowing that you in your heart know that you did the right thing, and that you kept trying, and that you put your good foot forward, and not just to cover up yourself because you feel like the victim. We can't stay the victim. We can't, because if we do, then we're always going to be the victim. and two victims don't make a right. The only way to actually show up is to stand up as a leader, and in hopes that your representation of the leader then allows the other person to feel comfortable enough to open up, so that way you can create a tighter bond. Because if you're constantly blaming or defending, it's just going to keep the cycle moving. And so when I learned that, and I even went to his house at one point just to kind of surprise him, just to see what's going on, because he wasn't answering my calls, wasn't answering anything. So I showed up, and he was just like, it was part of the modeling thing, but he wouldn't dive into it. So at that point, I just saw in his eyes and in his body language just how it seemed miserable. And I hate to say that, but just very, very lost, very miserable in who he is. And so all I can do at this point is pray for him. He doesn't want the relationship, which is, it's up to him. It's fine. I've forgiven him at this point for his lack of desire to want to be more in my life, because it's not about me. And I understand this now. Whereas in the past, I thought constantly, what's wrong with me? Hence the straight A's, the sports, the theater, the body, everything. And at that point, when I finally got to this point where I loved myself enough to know that I'm a beautiful person. I love who I am. I've come a long way from where I was. And this is not to like toot a horn. This is just self-love in its fullest. And if it weren't for God just showing me the way and lighting that way for me, of saying, you can have better than this. You don't have to be dictated of who you are based on other people's opinion of you, because they don't know you. They don't live inside of you. So it's up to you to determine who you are.
I want to hug you right now, just so you know. Consider yourself hugged. I want you to know that between all the interviews that I have done, and I've interviewed women of all ages, I spoke to women who are mid-60s, crying while I interviewed them, that they are still in pain, that they didn't get the validation from their parents. The desire to be validated by a parent, I don't believe that this is something that ever goes away. We want and we expect their love, and it's not something that we can comprehend when we don't get it. But ultimately, like you said, now that's his problem, right? That's his, you know your value, and he's missing out that he can't see. It's a sad thing. It doesn't make it okay. It is a situation. It is what it is. But I am so happy that you were able in this lifetime to see your worth, to see your value, and live it fully. And not only that, now spread this message, this part, the part of what happened with your father. It's a critical part that you have to share, continue sharing, because it's important for people, in my opinion, to know that even if there wasn't the closure that you wish there was, even though the ending is not what you hoped it was, that doesn't mean that it's not a beautiful story and a beginning of something incredible. Like you said, the seed is going to grow and become something so amazing. So it's important, because I think that a lot of it is that we have, a lot of the pain that we have is that we dream something and we want something specific because we think we know. We think we know what has to be. We think we know what's the right thing. And then that thing doesn't happen and we're so disappointed. But what we thought that is the right thing is just our thought, right? Your potential with what happened is a million times bigger than if none of this would have happened.
Yep. And imagine what God had saved you from by not having those people in your life. So the people that are still connected to that feeling or that pain of, why weren't these people here for me? Well, think of it from the other perspective. Think of all those, the people that were not in your life or abandoned you. Imagine if it was 10 times worse and they were in your life. So you don't know what God is saving you from or putting like in your life to then grow from, right? To make you into who he wants you to be. into the person that you were destined to be. And sometimes it's not pretty. I mean, none of the journey is going to be pretty. And if you want that, well, then you're in the wrong trail, because life is bumpy roads all throughout your whole life. But it's the awareness and the knowing that, you know, there's, like, for instance, if my car broke down, I could be sitting there being like, oh my gosh, my car broke down. Or I could just be like, you know what? This could be for a bigger purpose. Maybe I was going to get in a huge car accident. Because I remember one time a cop pulled me over the first time I got a ticket. First time. And it was like, I don't even know how many years I'd been driving without never getting a ticket. And it went from 50 miles an hour or 70 miles an hour to 50 in like 2 seconds without even like a lot of heads up or warning. And the cop pulled me over, and literally once I drove off about 100 feet away, there was a big moose just chilling in the middle of the road. So imagine if I was going the speed that I was going and could not stop, and that I hit the moose and it fell on me. I mean, you just don't know.
That's
So
right.
you gotta just be in that mindset of this is happening for a reason, and not to give in to the chaos that our minds just want to go to, because it's just wasted energy.
100%. You know, I wrote in my book that there is icebergs all around us.
Yeah.
You know, we're floating in an ocean and there's icebergs, but we don't see the bottom, the big part, the huge part underneath. We only see that very top. We see such a small fraction of the totality. And we judge life, right? The Titanic, right? They thought that they knew best and they went, but they didn't know what was underneath it. We don't know what's underneath. We don't know the ending. We don't know the reasons behind it. So we just have to trust. I mean, that's why it's faith, right? That's why it's called that we have to have faith, and we have to believe, and we have to trust that, you know, and just to have the desire to become every day a little better than we were yesterday. Just to do a little better and become a little bit better.
And I love the tree visualization too, because you got this beautiful tree, but there's roots that are just as big as the top of the tree embedded into the ground. And you don't see that part. Like, just like a home, you see the home and it's beautiful and nice, but you don't see the foundation that is holding it in. If the foundation is poop, then the whole house, it's only a matter of time before it crumbles, just like us.
100%.
But you don't see it. You don't see the foundation on the outside perspective. And we have to remember that when we're watching other people, of just knowing that their life ain't, you know, rainbows and sunshine and cupcakes. It's just, nobody's is. So I think that's the biggest takeaway for me going through what I've gone through, is knowing that even if somebody acts like a bully towards me, or talks behind my back, or is just just their energy is very negative and mean, I know that that's not just who they are. It's them hiding from something. It's them hiding from their own pain. It could be similar pain that I went through, but they're just reacting in different ways, where I tried to hide it because I wanted to be perfect. But maybe they're just trying to feel that superiority over other people.
Mm-hmm.
And
now,
so
I want to know something. How do you protect your heart? Because I always say everybody have gone through some adversity, and we are sensitive, you know, and we needed to safeguard and make sure that we're not going to derail and go back into bad thinking, you know. How do you, is there anything in particular that you do to safeguard your self-worth and your love that you attained for yourself? Because we still go through disappointments. So how do you not allow yourself to go back to that dark space?
Well, there's so many different tools that you can use and incorporate into that. I mean, a big part for me is just being honest, because a lot of the time growing up, I just shoved a lot under the rug and just hope that it goes away. And if anybody has done that, they understand that it doesn't go away. It's just, it stays there. And until it's just, there's so much under the rug that you're just going to trip over it. So there's no ignoring it at that point. So for me, being honest is probably the biggest key. And I'm still working on it. We all are always students. We're never perfect. We're never at this point where we know it all. So I'm working myself on just being honest. Like if I feel a sense of insecurities or jealousy or things, I know in my heart now I have to confront that. And I have to go to the person that I feel that tension with, and I have to express it. And I have to say, look, this is not okay to feel this way. And I understand this, but this is something that I'm working on, and I wanted to express that so that way I'm not harboring it. But at the same time, you understand that if I act a certain way, it's not from you or due to you. I'm working on myself. And with that, that gives the other person more clarity and less defensive action. And then it gives me that sense of peace of, okay, I'm still working, so it's okay. And I'm going to keep pushing through this. So that, I mean, that is a big one for me. And it's, I think, very hard for a lot of people because of the fact that others may get defensive. They may show up in a way that we didn't want them to. And that's where you have to look at their heart. You have to take off their mask, because we all wear a mask at times in our lives where we try to seem like nothing's going wrong. When somebody asks you, like, how are you doing? And like, let's say you're okay, but you're, it's kind of stuck feeling, right? But you don't want to dive into it. So you're like, oh, I'm good. No worries. We do that all the time. All the time. So when are we going to start being open and honest with each other so we can start working on those things and stop just trying to cover it up? So I take the mask off of them, even if they aren't ready to show up the way that I want them to, or the way that they, God calls them to. I take off the mask and I see the child within them.
Well, in a way, that's exactly what you did with your dad.
Right. Yeah.
So I see the pattern. Amazing. Now tell us about your brother. Tell us a little bit about him. Introduce us to him. I've seen videos with him. I've seen you singing with him. I already fell in love with him. So I want to know a little bit about your brother and about your plans for the future with him.
Yeah, he's an absolute love. I mean, if any of you who are watching have not yet seen any of my videos or on Quarantine Karaoke, or sometimes it's on Level 10 Hope Exchange page. Sometimes he comes on with me for Friday singing, or just on my page in general. He is just such a love. He's 2 years older than I am. So I'm 30, almost 31, and he's 33 now. And he's the happiest kid I know. Happiest kid I know. He has autism, higher functioning, so he can still do things like he can stay at the house by himself, and he can cook microwave meals, and he's a talker. He will talk to you about Disney till your head pops off if you let him. But I mean, just what I love about him is his innocence. It's like a child, where you feel a lot more at ease and comfortable because that child isn't judging you, isn't looking at you in a way that may have bad intentions, right? And so it's just a calming feeling and presence with him. And that's what I love the most. And I think people feel that too, just from the way others interact with him on live. And I love that they give that to him, because then it gives him that sense of purpose. And whenever I come over, he's written me a letter that says what songs he wants to sing. So it's just brought a lot of joy into my life, because again, many of us can get hardened in our hearts from just the negativity and the hate that surround us every single day. And fighting through that can get exhausting. Mm-hmm. And, it is hard to care for somebody with special needs. It is very, very hard. I'm not saying it's easy at all. Some of them don't even talk. So if you can imagine living with your son, daughter, family member who can never even say, I love you.
Yeah.
But you still give and love them unconditionally. That is a gift in its own, because what it's teaching you is far more than you even realize. So for him, sorry.
No, I want you to, at some point, you can continue your train of thoughts because I cut you off. But I always like to learn. For me, it's very important throughout all the interviews that I've done. I always wrote down the lessons that I learned from that person. So I always try to ask things that people say that are insensitive, but they may say because they don't know better, because they haven't been exposed to, they lack a little tact. But teach us, what how can people be more sensitive? How can people be more inclusive and more loving? I've seen some people talk to people that are autistic. They started screaming, and I'm like, why are you screaming? They're not deaf. Like people sometimes have reactions to because they don't know how to react, and you have to teach, we have to learn. If I'm not exposed, then how would I know? So share with us some things that you would like the world to know about how we need to interact with an autistic person.
Well, it's treating them like a normal human being, really. I mean, and if you do feel that sense of uncomfort or discomfort just being in their presence, then I always just say, like, then view them as that child, but not like in a, I'm gonna belittle you kind of way, but just interact. Like if you watch any of my videos, you notice I'm not just talking necessarily like I am with you and everyone else right now. I more so cater to more of that childlike character, because then I'm meeting him where he's at, also still educating him along the way as well. So really, if I'm gonna be pointing you in a different way or in a direction to be more comfortable or to interact, it's just they're humans. And also knowing that there's different levels, and they don't know that either. So sometimes you won't even know that somebody's autistic, or you may view them as being weird or awkward and strange. And that's where it's just, you still treat people with love, care, respect. That's for everybody. That's for everybody, because you don't know what's going to hurt them. You don't know what words you could say that's going to really impact them in a negative way. And so I always say, treat them like you would anybody else. Love your neighbor like you love yourself.
It's so true and so beautiful. So tell me more about him. What are your plans? Because a lot of your life changed to be able to make room to include caring for him.
Right. Well, I mean, the sad part of the story, I guess, is that my mom has congestive heart failure. So she's a saint. She is an amazing woman. I am so blessed to call her my mom, and Richard Jr. especially. But she's gone through 2 open heart surgeries. She's gone, you name it, she's had it. She's had a mini stroke. She's had a heart attack. She's had 7 pneumonias after her first open heart surgery. Wow. She's just one thing after another. And I feel like just God kept testing her over and over and over again. And she kept rising above it. And she kept showing up and said, I ain't ready. I ain't ready. I got a lot of work to do. And so I'm very blessed for that. But the day that does come where, she ends up going to heaven is, I'm a full believer in that we take care of our family. We take care of our family. So I want him to come live with me, in which I'm so excited because they're going to be moving to Maine, which is where I am. Mm-hmm. And in which case that would be a way better transition for him as well. And he's so excited. So this is exciting for me. But I realized that being a sponsored athlete at the time, I needed something more, because financially I was not making what I needed to through racing. And so I got involved in essential services, basically things that people are using every day anyway, to then help build that residual income for him one day. And honestly, I've never been involved in something that had such good morals and putting God first. And so it just felt, everything aligned perfectly when I prayed to God, put me in a position where I can do something that's going to benefit Richard Jr. Because I do a lot of things to help other people, to help myself, we all need to grow consistently, but I needed something where it would be more focused on something that would take care of him. And so when I found that, it was just, it all just aligned perfectly. And I plan on getting a house for him built for himself, so that way he has his own little apartment. And just, guys watching, please just go to my page and just see his beautiful, handsome face, because he's just such a doll. And seeing it is definitely a different thing than just hearing me talk about him. And watching a couple of his videos too, because he's amazing.
So amazing. It's so heartwarming, sometimes, my daughters bicker and I'm like, this love, I want them always to love each other, support each other, be there for each other. And when I see the two of you together, it's so inspiring. And I love when you come on video with him, love it. And I love when you sing with him and he chooses the song and you guys are playing around and it's so heartwarming. And you don't even realize how much you're teaching through those experiences, because everything that we are is learned behavior, right? If we see a lot of love, if we see just complete devotion and dedication, we give that love and dedication because it's natural. When we don't see that, we're searching and we don't know how to act and we don't know how to behave. So in a way, social media, if we are, if we put the frequency where it needs to be, if we go to the channels that can inspire us, because it's a choice,
right?
We can choose to go and just look at silliness or see people fighting because of this, that they disagree, or you can choose to go and see a beautiful relationship between two siblings, and then you fill your heart with everything that is good. So I thank you that you were so open, that you share that with the world, and that's another thing. I spoke to, I have a good friend of mine, actually, that's my friend who made my rock.
Yeah, I did see that.
I posted that. I asked her, can you make me a rock? So this friend, she told me, I'm going to do a hypnotherapy session with me. And I'm a control freak. So I've never gotten drunk and I never took drugs, not because I'm such a saint. It's just because if I can't control my behavior, so I said to her, you can't hypnotize me because I'm going to lose my control, And she goes, no, you're going to be aware. You'll. Anyways, she convinced me. So she does a hypnotherapy session with me. And something that came out was a deep fear that I have to not make an impact in this world as big as what my heart is telling me that I have to make. So I have this very strong desire and need that to spread this message. This message, and the message is that there is joy after adversity. So people shouldn't lose hope. I feel that this is the message that I have to share with people, that we can always mend, we can always fix, we can always put our pieces back together. And after we do, and we do the work properly, we are stronger, wiser, more beautiful than before. So this is my message that I feel very passionate. And it came out that I have a very strong fear that I don't have enough days, and that I don't have enough, that my voice is not so amplified, And it's interesting. I said there are people that are very naturally popular, that they become, it's very easy to follow them. There is something about them that they attract the masses. Yeah. And I was never like that. I was never, I'm more introverted, but I wasn't upset about that. I was happy that I wasn't the popular. I was never a desire of me to be that. And it still isn't. But I feel I'm here, and then the amplification is held by the people who are here. So it's out of my range. Mm-hmm. And she then told me something beautiful. And that's the point that I wanted to get to. So I went through all of this whole hypnotherapy just to tell you this. She said, Miriam, the dominoes when they're all standing, and you hit one domino, and then they all go and they keep going and keep going. And she said, you may never know how many people you reach. You may never be lucky to see what you managed to accomplish, but don't fool yourself, because you hit one domino and somebody else is going to pass this message and go and go and go and beyond. So I felt that she gave me such a gift, because I'm a visual learner. So when I saw those dominoes toppling down, almost like the message going through, I was able to see. I was able to see my voice and my message of hope. And I felt it was such a gift that I want to pass it on to you. And you are not like me. I do feel that you have more that popularity. I mean, it's very easy to get attracted to you. I sense that. So you may see more than I will see. But I want you to know that when you put one of those videos out, and when you sing at on Fridays, which I always go to watch, and when you leave a message, there is this ripple effect that you are not aware. And it's credit to you. It's built, you're not seeing it, but in the place where it counts, it's all coming next to you. When Judgment Day comes, and we go somewhere else, and we see, what did we do? Every video, every message, every song, every love, every hug, all of that is going to come together with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to tell you that because I see your gold, I feel your love, and I wanted you to know that it's spreading like wildfire, and you have no idea how much.
Oh, don't even start with me.
But you know what you're gonna do now? You're gonna
sing.
No, you're gonna sing for us because I told everybody that I was going to ask you.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I was like so in depth. But it's easy to talk to you, and that's what I love just about your spirit and the way that you carry yourself, because you make it so comfortable to be open with you. So I want to say thank you for that too, because sometimes you can feel like a pressure or a wall kind of being built up. So I thank you just for your honesty and for your ability to just let the air just be at peace and comfortable, and for all. I mean, I'm sure that's how people are on here and crying with you and sharing those tears, because you do allow that peace to enter their heart. So I appreciate that.
It's I feel, you know what, I feel it. I really believe, I have no doubt whatsoever that the people that I interview are sent to me. And they're the exact people that I need to speak with. And there is a reason why. And I carry their stories with me really forever. I remember every interview. I take notes after. I write down the lessons that I learned from each person. That's why the book came about, because I was so paying attention to what I could learn from the people. Because what is more beautiful than somebody overcoming adversity, accepting their life, and then saying, and now I'm going to take exactly what broke me, that exact pain, that exact tragedy that happened to me, and I'm going to take that and I'm going to go to the world and I'm going to give it as a gift, what I didn't have when I was going through. What is more beautiful than this? What is more honorable than this? Because the non-honorable says, oh, I learned this and I'm going to keep it to myself, right? The honorable is say, I learned this through my life the hard way, and now I'm going to take these lessons and I'm going to help other people so I can shorten the period of pain that they have to go through because of my experience.
And those are qualities of a good leader right there. Because you are being obedient to helping other people, which is what we're put on this earth to do.
Exactly. And that's why we're going to do some great stuff together.
Yes, we are.
Right? Paul?
Get ready. You're in trouble.
Yeah. Oh my God, he is definitely in trouble.
He knows it. He knows it.
Okay, a song.
Yes. So I'm in an apartment building, so I can't go crazy and wild on you guys. But I figured I'd do the part of the beginning piece because I love Sister Act. I am all about Sister Act. And it's actually one of my first ones I did in quarantine karaoke, which introduced me to Paul, which is how I met you, Mary. So I just thought it was very fitting. So it's Joyful, Joyful. So Joyful, joyful Lord, we adore thee. God of glory, Lord of love, hearts unfold like flowers before thee. Hail thee as the sun above. Melt the clouds of sin and sadness, drive the dark of doubt away. Giver of immortal gladness, fill us with the light. Fill us with the light. Oh, fill us with the light of day. And then it gets really loud and jumpy. But that's for another day. But
you're an angel. You have, the voice in singing is a gift. I have to tell you something. God didn't let me sing, because if he had, I would just sing. I would sing. And then I wouldn't be doing the job that I'm really here to do. So I guess I wasn't given this gift, but I love music. And I believe that music is medicine, is healing, is powerful, is uniting. And I thank you for sharing this beautiful talent of yours with us. So beautiful. And I'm going to tell you something else that is totally crazy, because you did not tell me that you were choosing this song. And I posted in the Heal with Gold group, I posted, what does joy mean to you?
I remember that.
I posted it yesterday, right? And then I told people, keep going. And something very interesting happened, because I wrote that after I had a conversation with somebody last night. Somebody approached me, they heard me speak somewhere, and we had this hour-long conversation. And in the conversation, she says, I don't know that I'm joyful. And I said to her, but if you're doing this and this and this and that, doesn't that bring you joy? And she said, yes, it does. And I said, well, we don't feel joy 100% of the time. Joy is a choice we make every moment, every day of our lives. We're choosing to be joyful, and there are certain things that we need to do to attain joy. So she asked me what joy meant to me, and I wrote it. And I wrote quickly. It came out of me. It came out from my soul. And after I wrote it, I read it, and I said, holy shit, this is genius. Sorry. I really
I hurt my feelings.
I felt like, wow, yes, this is joy. And I said, well, it's kind of befitting that if I want to tell people that there is joy after adversity, at least I know what joy means, at least to me. When people wrote in the group what joy is, there were things that I disagreed. There were things that were written that I disagreed. And the reason I disagreed was because they mentioned things that can be taken away from them. And then they have no control over. And and the people that are here that are in my group, I will do a video about it, but I wanted to mention this. When people say joy is my family, then if your family is taken away from you, then you don't have a source of joy. When people say joy is the ocean, well, so then if you move to the city and you're far from the ocean, then you don't experience joy. Joy is something a lot bigger than anything external. And I'm not going to divulge here what joy is for me. I'm going to have to do another video. Maybe you come back.
That too. I was going to say, what is your joy then?
But it was a very, very interesting conversation. And I think that once we hone it, and it's not the same for everybody. I'm not saying that I'm right. Every person has the definition for themselves, But I really think it's important for people to figure out something that it depends on them and not something external that can be taken away. So that's going to be for another time. What I want to do is ask anybody that's still here. We still have a lot of people here. If they have any questions for Laura, because we've spoken so much, not much time. So anybody has, whoever that is, because I don't see you, you'll have to watch the replay because this was an amazing interview. Anybody has any questions for Laura?
Thank you.
Come on with that profound message. I'm always thinking, yes. Come see me. Laura will come see you. Well, I'm sure. Melissa, I didn't look at the names of who was writing. I have to go look back. I was just reading what people wrote. I wasn't judging anybody. And Melissa, I'm not the owner of the truth. Each person has what it is for them, right? But we just, beautiful message. Okay, nobody has any questions. So then, Laura, what I would like is for you to leave as a message of hope, a message of inspiration, a message of knowledge, something that we can go tonight to our pillows, put our heads down, and so we can think, and I know I'm putting you on the spot, but anything that you think, that something, a lesson that you learned through your life, anything that you think could inspire people to understand that there is joy after adversity, and that you're not like a lucky one. You worked for to the point that you are. So please tell us what we can do, or something inspirational.
Right. Well, I mean, kind of going back to the seed thing, right? Where when I was getting all that dirt, like all the negative things going on. So those of you who are just joining on, you put a lot of dirt on ourselves throughout our lives. You know, it could be death of loved ones. It could be depression. It could be anything that causes you pain, that you get dirt thrown on you. And it just feels like you're just getting buried and buried and buried. But like a seed, you put seed in the ground and cover it in dirt, and that seed can either use the dirt as energy and fuel to rise and to become the beautiful flower that it was meant to be, or it can just be suffocated into the ground. And so what I found was I was that seed that decided to be suffocated for a very big part of my life. I was suffocated in the ground, did not want to come out. I was so afraid of what was above that ground that I was like, you know what? It's not even worth trying, because what if it's worse than this darkness in here? But the difference was, even though when I was in my darkest spot in my life, the difference I had and what I recognized is that I was consistent. And I stayed consistent through the whole process. So even though I went to therapy and I went to groups, and here I was like, this isn't helping. This isn't doing anything. Yeah, I had a lot of doubt in my head, right? And I was basically the stubborn girl, like I mentioned before. But the difference is that I was breaking my habit by being somewhere other than inside my head in my room crying. That's the huge difference. And even though I was telling myself this isn't going to work, this isn't doing anything, this is a waste of everyone's money and time and but I was breaking my bad habits that I built. We all have bad habits that lead us to the struggles and the pain that we face in life. And it's whether or not we're willing to recognize that there's a pattern going on, and what are we going to do to break the pattern. So even though I was going and I thought it was a waste of everyone's time, I was breaking the pattern. And over time, again, I didn't even think I was going to live to 30. So if there was anybody that was hopeless, well, it was me. I was like that hopeless person who didn't think that anything was going to come about. But I stayed consistent and I still went. And even though it felt stupid at the time, and I overcame it, because when you keep getting fed is what we feed ourselves. Like you said, Mary, earlier, when you surround yourself with people that are loving and caring, you're going to start adapting those things. And why all these big speakers say, you know, you are who you hang around. It's so true, because then you're learning through their habits, new habits. and why we want to search for people who are bettering themselves and are pushing forward in life. We want to surround ourselves with those people so that way we can, even if we don't feel like we're going to get to that level, when we still work and still put in the time, it doesn't matter how long it takes, you're going to get there. So when you have no hope at all, just stay consistent in whatever it is that's going to push you forward towards your goal, whether that's happiness. Mine was happiness. My big thing was, I don't care what's going on in my life. I just want to feel happy. And I'll tell you, I could hear it breathing on my shoulder for years. And until I was able to turn around and face it myself, I was never going to see it. And that takes consistency in taking risks and going outside of your habits that you've built to then realize what you've been missing, like the seed coming through the ground to finally see what they've been missing. Wow, there's a whole world outside of my darkness. So if you're in darkness, if you're going through anything, it could be a cancer diagnosis, life, physical problems going on, like a stroke like Paul and on this call, or depression or an eating disorder. I mean, it's seeing past that and just staying consistent no matter how much doubt you have and how slow you may feel you're going, because you know where you're going to shoot through and you're going to see the world in the bigger picture of it all. And sometimes it may take a while, but that's okay. It is okay to not be okay until you get okay, as long as you're going in the right direction.
Love it. Love it. Love it. I don't think we could have had a better message. Look who your friends are. Surround yourself with positive people. Keep going. Small steps take you a long distance. And yes, I think you said it all. Laura, I am so grateful. I am so thankful for you sharing with us your personal life to inspire us, for your music, for your talent, for your beauty, for your aura, and for your gold. And I hope that I can have you again. Maybe you would come again.
Well, duh. Let's make it happen.
Fantastic. Guys, everybody, thank you so much for joining the Heal with Gold show. I love you all. And I'll see you, I think, in a few days. I think Wednesday I have another show. So I'll keep you all posted. If not, it's next Sunday. Today's what? Today's Wednesday. Yes, next show is Sunday. I'll see you Sunday, everybody. Love you.
Love you. God bless.